What's going on, everybody? Tanner Wideman of BarbarianBody, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can build a bigger pair of arms using only a pair of dumbbells. We're going to be going through a crazy killer routine filled with exercises that are going to help you to build up the mass in your biceps and in your triceps. Without further ado, let's get straight into this one. Today's video was sponsored by Audible. Okay, kicking this thing off here, we're gonna actually be starting off with our biceps, and our first exercise we're gonna get here are some strict supinated curls for 4 sets of 10 repetitions. Now for this specific exercise, we are mostly gonna be targeting the inner or the short head of the biceps. However, we will still have a little bit of an effect to hit the outer head. The next exercise will be more so to target that specific area. So while you're performing this exercise, one of the main cues that I really want you to focus on is to keep that upper arm from elbow to shoulder completely stationary. Imagine you have a metal rod actually running through your elbows and through your torso. This is going to give you the mental image of what I want you to execute while you're performing the exercise. You see, one of the main mistakes guys tend to make while performing any form of a curl is to initiate the movement by incorporating the anterior or front head of the deltoid and lifting that elbow upward. This is sort of a cheat repetition, and by keeping that upper arm completely stationary, we can have a much better time at specifically isolating the biceps. Now, while we're bringing that dumbbell up towards the shoulder, you're thinking about shortening, contracting, and flexing the bicep as hard as you possibly can to maximize the effectiveness of this exercise. Once the dumbbell is at the top of the range of motion, you're going to be coming down for about 1 to 2 seconds on the eccentric portion of the exercise to increase that muscle damage and to increase time under tension. One of the biggest mistakes I really want you guys to avoid is to incorporate momentum in these very minimal time under tension repetitions, where you're getting back extension and you're utilizing the swinging motion to help you get the weight up. If you find yourself having to do this, you need to lower the weight, and one of my best cues that I can give you guys to actually execute this exercise properly is to position yourself where the mirror is to the actual side of you and you can specifically watch that arm and prevent it from moving, as well as the remainder of your body. Now exercise number 2, to target the outer head of the biceps as well as the brachialis, that little muscle that lies in between the biceps and the triceps, which also is responsible for when you grow it, to push those two muscles apart and grow the height of your actual arms. We're going to be performing some hammer curl holds for 4 sets of 12 repetitions. Now the same thing, while we're executing this exercise, our main goal is going to be to keep the upper arm completely stationary. Now while you're bringing those dumbbells up, you want to think about trying to actually crush the dumbbells with your hands. This is going to activate more of your brachioradialis, and while you're bringing those dumbbells up, incorporate more of the brachialis as well as the outer head of the biceps. We're never just executing an exercise for the sake of lifting the weight up and putting it back down. There's intention behind every repetition, and we are trying to crush the outer head of the biceps as well as that brachialis. Now, when the dumbbell gets up to the top of the range of the motion, you're going to actually incorporate a 1 second isometric hold. Now again, we're not just holding the dumbbell here for the sake of holding it. Rather, once we're in this position, we're focusing on trying to flex the brachialis and the outer head of the biceps, and then after this 1 second, again, you're going to be bringing the dumbbells down in a slow and controlled manner so that we can increase time under tension. A very common mistake to avoid is to have the elbows actually drifting backwards, thus releasing a lot of the load off of the lever arm and making the exercise many times easier. Again, focus on keeping that upper arm completely stationary, and you're really going to maximize the effectiveness of this exercise. Listen up, Amazon Prime members. For a limited time, you can start an Audible membership and save 66% off on your first 3 months. That's $30 off. Essentially, you're getting 3 months of membership for the price of 1. You'll pay just $4.95 per month for the first 3 months, and then after that, it's only $14.95 a month. Every month, you're gonna receive 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible originals from an ever-changing list. Now, if you can actually see right here, I use Audible a lot. I have got tons of books on here, and a couple of my favorites include The 50th Law by Robert Greene and 50 Cent, and The One Thing by Gary Keller. I use Audible to listen to audiobooks on a weekly basis, whether I'm in the car or even just doing errands around the house. It's a very convenient way for me to catch up on all the books that I'm trying to read. Whether they're business audiobooks, whether they're self-development audiobooks, or even audiobooks about psychology, I am absolutely obsessed with Audible and the archive of audiobooks that they have available. So if you want to join Audible just like me, then be sure to head on over to the link that's going to be in the description, or visit www.audible.com/barbarianbody, or text BarbarianBody to 500 to get started today. And I'd just like to give a huge shout out and thank you to Audible for sponsoring today's video. I absolutely love your guys' service. Now let's get into the rest of the content. Now, to start off our triceps routine, we're actually gonna be performing an exercise to hit the biggest head of the triceps, and this is gonna be some overhead extensions to target that long head of the triceps. You see, once we've got our arms positioned as such, the arms are above our head, we've gotten a full stretch of the long head of the triceps as it does run through your shoulder joint, and the muscle that's the most stretched is the one that's gonna be the most targeted while we're performing this exercise. And for the overhead extensions, we're gonna be performing 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Now, the 2 main points I want you to think about while you're executing this exercise is to, 1, ensure that you're keeping those elbows nice and tight to the head and changing this exercise from more of an extension where it's just gonna be strictly hinging at the elbows into more of a press where you're gonna be incorporating your shoulders. The second point is to actually focus on getting a lot of depth. When you're bringing that dumbbell down, you wanna get a full stretch of the triceps and bring it down as low as you possibly can without incorporating movement from the upper arm. Once you reach the bottom of this movement, you're gonna focus on extending the arms upward and again, flexing, contracting, and shortening those triceps as hard as you possibly can. Now, please try to avoid this sort of stopping at the top of the motion, catching your breath, getting prepared, and then dropping the weight back down. As soon as you get to that lockout, you're bringing those arms right back down so that we can keep the tension on the triceps throughout every single set. Now, the next exercise we're gonna be performing here to actually hit all 3 heads of the triceps are gonna be some close grip dumbbell push-ups. We're gonna be performing 3 sets of about 15 to 20 repetitions. Now, if you don't actually have the hexagonal dumbbells, as you can see me performing right here, I do not recommend that you use those rolling circular plated dumbbells because you will injure yourself. I highly advise that instead of using dumbbells, I recommend that you perform the diamond grip while you're performing every single repetition to prevent injury. Now, what we're thinking about while performing this exercise is to actually keep those arms nice and close towards your torso. This is gonna maximize the recruitment of the triceps and less of the shoulders and the chest while you're performing every repetition. Now, when you're coming down, you're gonna focus on getting a nice full range of motion, bringing your chest down, touching the dumbbells, and then when you're coming back up, consciously thinking about contracting the triceps. Now, you will notice that while you're performing this exercise, you will be recruiting the pecs, and that's totally fine. However, after we've already performed our overhead extensions, the triceps should already be pre-fatigued. So these 3 sets of 15 repetitions of the close grip push-ups should work perfectly. And as always, we don't want to be rushing these repetitions and just trying to get them out as quickly as possible. You want to maximize time under tension. Think about 1 to 2 seconds on every single rep. Now, an error that I want you guys to avoid while you're performing this exercise for spine health is this drooping of the hips. This causes a lot of compression on the discs. Focus on keeping that torso nice and straight like a plank while you're performing every repetition. Again, for this specific exercise, we're gonna be getting 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions. Let's get on to the finisher. And to conclude our triceps portion of the workout, we're gonna be getting some lying tricep extensions for 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Now, don't worry, if you don't have a bench, that's totally fine. You can definitely perform this exercise while on the floor. So again, as I've mentioned with pretty much every exercise, the main goal here is going to be to keep that upper arm as completely stationary as possible and strictly only hinging at those elbows. You're noticing that while I'm bringing those dumbbells down, I'm letting the top of the dumbbell just lightly tap the top of my shoulder. As soon as that connection is made, I'm gonna focus on bringing those dumbbells up by contracting my triceps as hard as possible. I've also significantly increased the time under tension for this exercise. Guys, just because we're at home doesn't mean that we cannot utilize all of the tactics that you see guys using in the gym to maximize time under tension to stimulate the most amount of muscular hypertrophy. So I'm performing the eccentric portion of this exercise for about 2 seconds on each repetition. You'll notice here that I'm focusing on keeping those elbows nice and tight to the body and I'm not letting them drift outward. And you're also able to see a lot of the activation out of the triceps while I'm performing the movement. We're not just thinking about let's lift the dumbbell from point A to point B, but rather let's contract our triceps as hard as we possibly can. And here's just a quick demonstration of some improper movement. This is typically what happens when you're not focused on keeping those upper arms completely stationary and you let the elbows drift forward. This is definitely not good for the joints. And another mistake to avoid is obviously the speedy repetitions where our time under tension is going to be absolutely crap. I've seen guys perform this exercise for almost less than half of a second on every single repetition because they think it's a race to just complete the set. That's not our goal. Our goal is intention. The intention of trying to contract the muscle, keep it under tension as hard as we possibly can, and demand the absolute most out of it so that we can stimulate hypertrophy or muscular growth. So there you guys go. That concludes today's video. Hope you enjoyed that one. And again, if you're looking to take advantage of Audible's special promo, then be sure to head on over to the link that I will have in my description box, but be sure to head head on over there soon, as the promotion will be ending very, very shortly. If you guys enjoyed this video, then be sure to smash that like button down below, and also be sure to subscribe for weekly workout tips and hit the bell notification icon. That one's very important as well, for weekly workout tips and nutrition tips that you will not want to miss. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I will see you all in the next video.